Welcome back to Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. And one of the hottest teams in the NFL is the Washington Commanders. No, this is not a joke or a lie or a story. They're one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. And, I kind of wanted to talk about the Washington Commanders a little bit with my guest, as well as, kind of visit their past games against the AFC South. So, on this episode, I wanted to bring in, of course, someone that actually has a keen eye on all DC sports, Miss Candi Waller. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Mike. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes. The pleasure is all mine. Now, I do have to give a rundown of the things that you do because, of
Mhm,
course, we want to be respectful here on that.
mhm.
All right. Inside the Wizards, you definitely doing your thing there. Producer, let's see, producer and reporter, I would say, for the Commanders. Oh, Boy TV and CBS
Mhm,
Sports Lynchburg. All right.
mhm.
All right. And of course, the show that I first got introduced to you with, the Wizard show with you and Karita and Becca and Bree. Yeah. So, you still, you're doing a lot of things. I haven't seen that show in a minute, but that's neither here nor there. I know you got a lot of things going on and I understand. So, how did you get caught up in doing a lot of the Commanders and just DC sports in general?
I am a huge sports fan overall. I grew up a huge sports fan, and because I'm from the DC, Maryland area, the Prince George's County, Maryland to be exact, um, I said, you know what? After years in the consulting industries, I said, hey, I want to do something that I'm passionate about. It's like you want to see more of yourself in press rooms and media rooms, doing sports broadcasting, talking about sports, and being an active contributor to the conversation about the game. And so I started Seawall Sports and Entertainment 5 years ago. This year is the 5th year anniversary, and it just kind of took off from there. I mean, I had to, build all new relationships and get to know folks and get to know PR teams for the different sports. And so I grew up a fan of all the sports in the area. And so since I'm still in the local Washington metropolitan area, I said, well, why not just shoot for the stars and pass. I'll just try to, get in and see what I need to do to get in with the professional teams and get credentialed. And so they told me what to do. So I started doing it, and everything just kind of took off from there with the different relationships with Bowie Television, with Sports Illustrated Fan Nation and such. So here I am.
Well, I will be remiss to say I didn't mention the Seawall Sports and Entertainment, and my apologies there.
It's fine.
I actually started with my own thing as well, so I completely understand where you're coming from there, and hey, the growth and the things you got to do, and somebody giving you a little bit of the playbook, and kind of allowing you to either follow the playbook or falter from the playbook. So I definitely understand that. Now, speaking of a team that kind of faltered and then followed the playbook, that would be the Washington Commanders. Now, starting the season, they won their first game. They lost four in a row, and then they won six of their last eight. Again, one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. Now, what has this ride been like for you?
It's been a roller coaster. I mean, Coach Ron Rivera said that in one of his pressers, and I was like, that's exactly what this has been. Um, they had, the week one win against, AFC South team. And then it was kind of like went downhill for a bit. And then there was a quarterback change. Carson Wentz got hurt, and it just took off from there. And then now it's kind of back to the downhill slope, feeling it a little bit after the Commanders lost to the Giants. And so it's been a wild ride, and you can't help but to feel the energy and even covering them. It's like, wow, they're really turning it around and they're really coming together. Something about teams coached by Ron Rivera, at least in the last couple years that I've been covering the team, and it's like they just start to click around mid-October, November, it starts to all come together around that time. And so it's been fun to watch, but they will have you on the edge of your seat each and every time.
So basically, what you're saying is they're a non-stop action thriller,
Yeah.
basically each and every week.
You don't know what you are going to get. You really don't. You have no idea. You have to watch the entire game because it can really take a turn at any moment.
Definitely, definitely, and that's parts of the season, and we're going to get into that, and talking about the AFC South games, and those took some turns as well. But what do you think is as you know been working the best for the Commanders to kind of get them on this roll right now?
The defense. That's what I really think. I think there's still so many challenges on the offense, and the consistent thing has been the defense. It really has. I mean, the Pro Bowl announcements just came out, and Jonathan Allen is a starter with on the Pro Bowl. Deron Payne and Montez Sweat were named as alternates, but that's still three of your defensive linemen that are Pro Bowl bound or were named in that Pro Bowl kind of rosters, if you will. And that's the thing that has kept them going. Early on they had some struggles, and I can be very critical of the coaching and coordinators, but Jack Del Rio, he got them together, and I think the defense is now kind of just molding into the defense that folks wanted to see last year after the year they came out of the 2020 season, and there were so many high hopes for the defense last year, and it didn't pan out. But this year, it all really has come together. They're extremely confident. The camaraderie is awesome across the team overall. That defense has just really been the key, consistent group there that has really just helped this team make a little bit of noise and have, a bit of hope, if you will.
Right. Now, there is a particular gentleman that always seems to be at quarterback when they make a little bit of noise, and that'd be Mr. Taylor Heineke. Now, I make jokes about him and saying that, hey, maybe he should have been sponsored by, Heineken beer, things like that. I make those jokes, but, they're pretty corny, probably dad jokes, but hey, it is what it is. But, he just, what's not a joke is he just wins. He just comes in, finds a way to win. What can you just say about him? It just, to me, it's not really any one thing that he does. It's just a set of different things that get you towards a win. I mean, but you have a closer eye on it. So what do you see more than probably some that just watch the team casually see?
He shows the emotion. I think he is, he wants to win. He is never going to give up, and he genuinely in his mind believes that he can do it. Even when he's terrified, even when it doesn't look promising, he is going to battle into the very, very end. And he brings the team some consistency, quite honestly, at the position. Every year it's always the same conversation, but it's a different quarterback. Who is going to be the quarterback for Washington? Who's going to be behind center for Washington, when the season starts? And so he wears his emotions on his sleeve. It's not like he's trying to hide it, to be tough or anything. He is tough. He is resilient, but he wears that excitement, and he also wears that disappointment whenever he makes a mistake. And even just recently, this past week, and even today when we were in the locker room, I mean, I asked him, I said, Taylor, how you doing? Are you okay? And he said, I'm okay now. I'm starting to be okay now, because it was still so much on his mind, the game from Sunday. So I think that's what people rally behind. They want to see the emotion. They want to see that he cares and he really wants to win. And they believe that he can. So I think that's the key. He just has that energy, and everyone likes an underdog story, right? I mean, everybody, he was taking a final at ODU, and they call him up like, "Hey, we need you," and now he's got to go and play in the NFL. So he's a fan favorite, and he's a locker room favorite for sure.
Now, if you changed his name, aged him a little bit, grew his hair into, not from blonde to like dark, and change the team name to the Sentinels, then plenty would think he's Keanu Reeves out there. So some fans.
That is too funny.
So I think about that a lot, and I kind of wanted them to name the team the Sentinels just so they could bring back all the players from that movie. So, but that's just me. I'm kind of wishful thinking, but a team that going to the playoffs was wishful thinking for them before the season was the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, they lost to the Washington Commanders 28-22 in the opening game, but now they're seeming to find their stride. And that starts with Mr. Trevor Lawrence. Now, you had the first look at him under Doug Peterson. I mean, at that point in time, what did you kind of think of him after that game?
Week 1, they made a lot of mistakes. And so I said, okay, this team, because I was a person where everyone, a lot of Commanders fans would say, oh, it's just Jacksonville. It's just Jacksonville. I'm like, You have the luxury of facing Jacksonville in week 1, but that was a team from the very beginning of the season under Doug Peterson's leadership that I said this team can improve as the year goes on. And that's exactly what has happened. They made a lot of mistakes week 1, which resulted in their loss. But I kept saying, hey, they cleaned some of that stuff up. And that game could have gone very different. I think the team that we're seeing now out of Jacksonville is exactly what I thought they would look like. I mean, they made some great off-season moves. I was very impressed with how they moved in free agency, how they drafted. So I said, okay, this is good. And Doug Peterson isn't a slouch coach. He's good. He's a good coach. So you got to give people some time to kind of mesh and just gather and get together. Like I said, they weren't good week 1, but it was just mistakes. It was just week 1 mistakes and new leadership and new players' mistakes. But I'm not shocked at all by what I'm seeing in the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, they're solid and can continue to be for sure.
Well, next year will be interesting because they added Mr. Calvin Ridley, who they traded for during the trade deadline. So that'll be interesting. Another thing that's going to be interesting, well, that was interesting at the time, would be that when Christian Kirk got paid, all the people were mad at him, but all the wide receivers were happy, and Terry McLaurin definitely is happy now that happened.
Yep.
I want to go into another thing that in that game. Defensively, the Jacksonville Jaguars, of course, you had Trayvon Walker and you had Josh Allen, and they kind of haven't lived up to the hype, according to a lot of people. And, of course, Thursday's game, Trayvon Walker's not going to play with an ankle injury. Can you describe what it's like just seeing those two big guys trying to run around and sack your quarterback? And, of course, it was Carson Wentz at the time, who's no longer the quarterback, and, he got Wally pipped again. So,
Yeah, I mean – the game is so fast. It is so fast. And sometimes I don't know if folks realize how important your offensive linemen are in the success of your offense, in the success of the quarterback. So they were having a time. The Commander O-line was having a time for a bit there with that defensive line. And that was another one of the positives that I remember speaking out on. Watch out for that D-line, right? These are experienced guys. They're big, they're fast, they're strong, and they want to do all they can to get to your quarterback. And I was really, again, it was week 1, but I was definitely impressed for certain. But they are as advertised. I think the Cowboys probably learned that this weekend. But I had to throw that dig in there. But anyway, but yes, they gave Andrew Norwell, Charles Leno, at the time Sam Cosmi, they gave those old linemen a run for their money on that week 1 Sunday. So it's good stuff there on that defensive line for certain for Jacksonville.
Yeah, they'll they haven't. I will say they haven't quite lived up to the expectation
Mm-hmm.
that many had for them. However, you know they're like a step away or this way or that away, and of course we'll see what happens because Josh Allen's coming up on his 5th-year option and
Mm-hmm.
getting a little expensive for a guy that's not putting up a lot of stats. So but a guy that is putting up a lot of stats is Derrick Henry, and that's for the Tennessee Titans. Of course, they beat the Commanders 21-17. A David Long Jr. interception on the goal line won the game, which that game definitely had everyone like they were in an episode or excuse me, a movie version of Speed. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely it felt like that. Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, and they're racing and racing. It's gonna happen. What's gonna happen? Boom! It all stops.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely an interesting game.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the games that I know the Commanders wish they could have back for certain. Um uh Derrick Henry is as advertised. See somebody of that size at that position move as fast as he does. It's like just let him run down the field. That's what you that's what you want to say. Like just let him fly because but the Commanders defense did a good job for the most part. He didn't have the days that he has had in the past on teams. They did the best that they could, but that was a lot of doing, due to getting the pressure up front, trying to get to the quarterback, trying to beat them their one-on-one matchups with the offensive line. So it wasn't seeing, Derrick Henry just tear up FedEx Field. It wasn't necessarily that. It was just to see someone of that size be that fast and be that much of a threat in person. It's like, wow, that guy is really, really good. You just don't see stuff like that on any Sunday. Really,
Right.
he's a beast. I guess he was like a athletic freak. It's like, what in the world? And
Mm-hmm.
so, and he just runs with so much confidence. I mean, he's just like, you're not going to tackle me. So, and that's how he runs.
Right.
Like it's
Yeah.
almost impossible. So, it was really, really cool to see him live.
Yeah, he's almost like you went into Madden back in the day and just created a player, and people were like, "Hey, you can't use him. He's that guy."
Yes,
Basically, every time you see him,
exactly.
and I literally saw him in person during training camp, and when you see him, even if he's that big, it still takes you back when you see him and see he's that big. So,
Right.
and then for the
Exactly.
funniest thing is, for a season that plenty aren't talking about him. He's second in the league in rushing with 1,303 yards, and he's got 12
Mhm.
touchdowns, which is third in the league. So, for a supposed year where some people think he doesn't have it, I think he's right where he needs to be. And it's kind of comical to me, to be honest, that people will say that, but they don't exactly factor in that he's getting touched in the backfield literally every play this year, as opposed to last year and the year before
Mhm.
not getting touched until he was through the line of scrimmage. So
Yep.
that's a big difference. Of course, another big difference is they're losing ways right now. The Titans have lost 4 in a row, and the Jaguars are right there. They're only one game back. And then,
Mhm.
they have beat the Tennessee Titans this year. Of course, everyone remembers that 36-22. Really wasn't that
Mhm.
close, but hey, that's the score we were given.
Mhm.
Um, do you think this team, they're reeling right now? They face the Texans. They do face the Jaguars again, and they've got one more game, and it escapes me what it is. But do you think that they are going to fall from grace and let the Jaguars beat them into the playoffs?
It looks like it. I mean, the Jaguars. I mean, they got hot late. I mean, they got all of the juice right now. I call it the juice. Jacksonville has all of the juice, and then what they did again, this past Sunday against the Cowboys, in overtime. That's a big deal. It's exhilarating from what I've been told, what I see. And once you build that level of confidence, you're like, hey, we can do this. So I think Tennessee need to watch their back a bit because Jacksonville is the one. They're the ones in the AFC South that has the momentum and feels like there's still plenty of regular season left, and we got a shot. And I think they want. I mean, of course, they would want to get that shot, and what better team to take down than the Tennessee Titans for them? I'm sure that's probably exactly who they have their eyes set on to take down so they can make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, it would be interesting for sure. I mean, plenty of Jaguars fans, they probably don't be reminded of this, but the team, the year they went 13-3, I believe is what they went, and was it 13-2? I don't know, but anyway, they lost like 3 games that year. All 3 games they lost, Tennessee Titans, including the AFC Championship game in Jacksonville. So, Jaguars fans have been wanting to get at the Tennessee Titans for a while now, and this is their perfect opportunity. And these two play in the last game of the year, so that makes it even bigger and better for the Jaguars when seeing the Titans. Now, a team the Titans have to see next is the Houston Texans. They've been putting a little bit of scaring people the last couple of weeks. But they did lose to the Commanders 23-10. It was basically put away early. It was 23-0 at halftime, and it just wasn't a game after that. The Commanders handled the business. Now, with how they played though the last couple of weeks, of course, there's been talk about Lovey and if Lovey's going to be back, and people thinking he may not be back. If you had to make that decision about Lovey being potentially fired or not, do you think that he deserves to be fired, or do you think he deserves more of an opportunity given what he was working with?
I think he absolutely deserves more of an opportunity. I don't think he should be fired at all. I would think that is very unfair because they were so close. And if we really want to be honest, the Texans were the team that on Thursday Night Football, they kind of showed a blueprint for what could potentially work in beating the Philadelphia Eagles. That is who I believe. I think it was they played the Eagles on a Thursday night, right, and they almost beat them. And in the following Monday, so a lot of people for some reason thought the Eagles had a bye. So they didn't have a bye. They just played on Thursday night one week, and the following week they played on Monday night, which is kind of like a bye a little bit, right? Because there's so much time there. But right, that film revealed a lot of the Eagles, at least that week, right? People have now kind of figured things out. And so they're making up for those, mistakes. But from that previous week to the next against the Commanders on Monday Night Football, like the Texans have given you a blueprint. They didn't pull it off, but the Commanders ended up pulling it off. But it was largely due to the game that the Texans played against the Eagles, where they were almost the ones that ruined that win streak. So I don't think the Texans played, that one to give them some credit for that. But when the Commanders saw the Texans, I don't think they played well at all in that game. And I'm like, maybe this is just a bad week because they're not playing, they didn't play well at all. But Lovey should be able to have another year or two. I mean, all of the drama and all of the noise, even surrounding why he was the coach and how all that came to be, you can't do much with what he was given. So give him some more time. I would hope he does not get fired after this season.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. I honestly, I think you're asking Lovie Smith to be MacGyver each week because you go out there and you have all these different pieces, and you're asking him to make make a Tommy gun out of I mean, or just make a weapon out of like what a tic tac and a pick or something. I don't know. He's just trying to just ask him to make a weapon out of not very much there. So right, as far as the Texans, I mean, the Cowboys and the Chiefs definitely took them to the wire. I did not expect them to take both of them to the wire like that. I expected them to stay close for a while, but eventually kind of fall off. Did you? I mean, a 2-quarterback system, running the football, defense playing tougher than they played all year, offense making some plays happen. I mean, did you expect any of that those last 2 games? I mean, I know I was wildly shocked.
No, I did not. I mean, like I said, when the Commanders played them, what was that? The weekend before Thanksgiving, I was kind of like the Texans are not that good. They're not good at all. Like my goodness, and I was shocked because I was expecting for them to put up more of a fight. Like I said, against the Eagles on that Thursday night. But the last couple of weeks, I'm like, I don't know if maybe folks are just, feeling the pressure of wanting to keep their jobs and just wanting to play up to their competition, perhaps. But they really almost pulled it off. Both of those weeks. And I kind of, again, they might be a couple of pieces away, but they certainly played up to their competition, or at least who they thought, was their competition those weeks. I mean, they took really, like you said, down to the wire for sure with the Cowboys. I watched that one. But with the Chiefs, when I saw what they did there, I was like, wow, really? And so, and then it became, and at first, sometimes you think, okay, well, that is the other team not playing as well. And I'm like, no. That Texans team right there, that's a different team than what the Commanders played, because they were not good on that Sunday. But they were ready to roll. So I don't know if some tough conversations were had or what happened, but they were ready for both of those games. They just couldn't pull it off, like you said.
Yeah. Almost. But, in the words of the illustrious and the multi-talented Brandy, almost doesn't count.
That's right.
But, we'll of course, talking about the AFC South with the Indianapolis Colts. Of course, the Colts, last minute drive, Heineke leads them down the field. The Colts lose to the Commanders 17-16. Okay, first off, we before we even talk about anything, up 33-0 at halftime against the Minnesota Vikings, and then the Vikings come back and win that game. Largest blown lead in NFL history. I mean, did you turn off the game, one? And two, did you expect for that to happen from the Colts and the Vikings game?
So I was actually not watching. I checked in. I saw it was 33-0. And I was like, oh my gosh. Wow. Like, what is going on with Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings? Okay. I was out, out and about, Christmas shopping, doing this, that, came home, turned it on, and saw what was transpiring. And I said, oh no, like, how does that happen? So I didn't witness the collapse. Whatever happened, I missed all of it. I did see some highlights, but that had to have hurt for Colts fans. That was unreal, because hey, yes, the Minnesota Vikings are good. They're tough, but come on, 33-0,
right?
To nothing, 0, and you did that in a half. And I'm like, did the Colts just leave or something? Like, what did they do? Like, I just could not figure out how it happened. At any rate, it's pitiful. And it shouldn't happen. It's real bad. It's sad. That just should not happen in any professional game. Like, not 33-0. Now, I can see if, the Vikings ended up, say Indy didn't score any more points, and like Minnesota, I'm not saying that they should have stayed at 0. I'm not saying that at all, because they should have scored. But to actually win, that's unreal. Completely unreal.
Very much. I got some Frank Reich versus the Houston Oilers vibes, or for Colts fans, the Andrew Luck versus the Kansas City Chiefs vibes, when they came back and won 45-44 when they were down by like 20 some odd points at home. Yeah, that's the vibes I got watching this game. I was just like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. But it did. Now, wow. Did you, speaking of the Colts just being bad in terms of that game, overall, did you expect the Colts to just be this bad this season?
No, I did not. I didn't. I mean, the Colts is a team, unfortunately, of course you can keep an eye on the Colts because of the Carson Wentz trade. right? And then they picked up Matt Ryan, and it's like, okay, well, let me see. Let's all see how this works out, right? With them, getting Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz coming to the Commanders. So, and of course, because the Commanders were playing the AFC South, okay, I'm gonna keep my eyes on them. But no, I did not expect, when the Commanders played the Colts. What was that? So that was October 30th weekend, I believe. I'm thinking it's going to be Carson Wentz against Matt Ryan, and it ends up being Taylor Heineke against Sam Ellinger. And I'm like, what is this? And, it's like, these are, dates that people got circled on their calendars, quarterbacks who've kind of got like fall from grace, sort of, Matt Ryan, in my opinion, has never recovered from that Super Bowl meltdown that the Falcons had against the Patriots. And then everyone knows the Carson Wentz story, and all of that, and with the Eagles and them Colts, and now with the Commanders. And it was like, okay, who's going to be the redemption story for this Sunday? And neither one of them played. And I was like, nobody wrote this script. Nobody could have guessed that this was going to happen. So I did not expect for them to be that bad at all. And even going through the coach changes and everything during the season. I think that's probably been one of the bigger shocks of the NFL season, at least for me so far.
Yeah, they're definitely not where anyone expected them to be. And of course, speaking of being where they're supposed to be, we're at the end of the show. But we do have to play a game. Okay. There's 5 questions. There's 2 answers, and you got to make one choice. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. Now, I'm going to give you these 2, and you got to make a choice between one of them.
Okay.
If you had to make a choice where the stadium would be for the Commanders, in D.C. or Maryland, which one would you pick?
D.C.
All right. Now, I had to give you one to kind of get you ingratiated with the home team and stuff like that. Yeah. But this one's going to be a little tougher. Okay. If you had to pick one running back for the Washington Commanders, Clinton Portis or Stephen Davis?
Clinton Portis.
Clinton Portis. Okay. Stephen Davis did do his thing, but, I definitely understand that one. All right. Going to pick 2 coaches. I don't know how favorably they're viewed in DC, but I'm going to mention them. Mike Shanahan or Jay Gruden. You got to pick one to win a game.
I'm sorry. Oh, man. Woo. Mike Shanahan.
All right.
Mike Shanahan. That was funny. There was a real reaction right there. With Mike Shanahan, though.
All right. Okay. Now, this one is going to basketball, since you do cover basketball as well. Mm-hmm. Going to make you pick between 2 Wizards players that you probably don't want to pick between. They were in the backcourt together, by the way. That'd be John Wall or Bradley Beal. Which one would you pick?
Oh, I'm gonna pick John. I'm gonna pick John Wall.
I'm telling Brad on you. I'm kidding.
I was like, where is this show going to be shown? Let me tell
you. All right. And I got one more for you. You had to choose one between these 2 games. NFC title game in FedEx Field or Game 7 Eastern Conference Finals in Capital One Arena. Which one would you pick?
Ooh. The NFC title game in FedEx Field.
Okay. All right. I thought you might pick Capital One because it's inside, but hey, there you go.
Well, yeah, but I think the vibe,
Got you.
Okay. If the Commanders ever get back there, the city's gonna go berserk. So they're gonna lose.
I wish. I mean, honestly, they're gonna go berserk, but I'm kind of scared if it does get that way. Here's why I'd be scared, and it's not for the fans in terms of their reactions and things like that. I would be scared because the energy is going to be in the stadium, the stadium's going to be rocking. But the thing is, can the stadium sustain that with all the different things that have happened with the rail falling and the all the different waters or different whatever liquids falling from the sky? Can the stadium sustain that? That's what I worry about.
Right. That's a great point. That is a really great point.
But we have reached the end of the show. I do want to thank you for coming on, and I want to give the floor to you. Tell everyone what you're working on, where you can be found on social media, anything like that at all. The floor is yours.
Thank you again for having me. This was fun, and you got some genuine laughs out of me too. So thank you for that. So everyone can follow me. I am on Facebook under Seawall Sports and Entertainment. As Mike already mentioned, we have a Sports Illustrated Fan Nation site, Inside the Wizards, where all Wizards content is there. So you can follow the Inside the Wizards Facebook page or the Inside the Wizards Twitter page. I post it all on my Seawall Sports page as well. And then I'm at Seawall SE. I'm at on Twitter. Then I'm at Seawall Sports on Instagram. It's just Seawall Sports. Google it. I'm sure I'll come up in a multitude of areas. But I also have 2 television shows. If you are local to the Washington metropolitan area, want to check it out online as well under Bowie Television. Culture from the Couch series. So on Mondays, we do record live on Seawall Sports and Entertainment on Facebook and YouTube. And that show is only for the Washington Commanders. So you want to hear a lot of Washington Commanders talk, that's the show for you. And then the weekly DMV Sports Talk is on Thursdays at 7:30. But every day it comes on Verizon Fios channel 11 and Comcast Xfinity channel 77 from 1:30 to 2:30 if you are local to the DMV. So you can catch me literally everywhere now. And also on the radio. I do a women in sports segment every Wednesday on 89.3 FM as well. Yep. It's a whole bunch of long list of stuff. So follow me. Hope you love the content. Engage with me. I try to engage with as many people as I possibly can. And I have a lot of fun. So
yeah, definitely do. You got to have a lot of fun with all the things you're doing. I mean, honestly, over here, I thought I did a lot, but I need to step my game up. You kind of showed me up on my own show. I'm like, man, I got to mess around, step my game up over here. Thought I was doing a lot.
Well, Mike, I've been seeing you from a distance. You out here killing it. So no, thank you for being the bar that we're all trying to get to. So much appreciated.
You're too kind. You're too kind. But thank you again for being on. Of course, if folks want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82. Of course, this is touring the AFC South. That is Seawall. I am Mike Patton, and we are